And like you said, there's so much that isn't in the book, but everything that is, everything's extreme, everything. And it struck me, there was a very clear parallel to me. Early on in your book, you talked about the causes that you were seeking to run for to assist the Red Cross, and it was largely based around drinking water and sanitation. And the numbers that are in there were staggering. They're incomprehensible. You know, the millions and millions of people that don't have access, the rate of children dying without having access to drinking.
See, we take it for granted in Australia that you can turn on tap and you got some water there that you can drink. But what we don't realise, there's so many countries around the world where it's like drinking poison. It's like drinking poison. Like, I was going through Nicaragua, and people were living on the side of the road where was a swamp, and they're living on this bamboo-made house. So it's a bamboo poles into the mud, and then a bamboo shelf is what they slept on, and then they had plastic over the top of that and plastic across the top. And the place was infested with mosquitoes. And I'm complaining I'm getting stung by mosquitoes as I'm running on down the road. These people live there 24/7. And I saw the same things happen in other places, like in Ecuador, in the desert, like up in Quito, like I'm up the top there running through these mountains at really high altitude, and people were living in these rock homes on the side of the road, and you just think, there's nothing. There's nothing. You can't grow a garden. We're worried about whether we got Sawalter on grass or whether we got...
It's buffalo out here, actually, mate.
Yeah, that's a type of buffalo, mate. Or whether we got Cooch, or whether it's Greenleaf Park, or we're worried about that. We're worried about whether our swimming pool is chlorinated or salt water. For God's sakes, these people haven't got access to clean drinking water, and they got a baby in their arms. Like, it's a reality check. All this stuff, and I feel privileged that I've had the chance to see these things, and running's given me these things. But you know what? None of it would have come to be, and none of the good that I've done or the people around me have done, and I wouldn't have had any of the influence on anybody if I hadn't seen Cliff Young do what he did when I was standing at the side of the garage where I worked as a mechanic when I was 18 years old. And so from that, I say to everybody, it's all about your actions, not your words. And you never know who's watching on that will change their life accordingly, and then in turn change many other people's lives as a result of what your efforts are. And you must have experienced that with your blood run. You must have, that there's people you never knew before, that you never saw, that just saw you aching and going through pain and go, why is he doing that? And then they started following you, and then they're going, this is amazing. He doesn't look like an athlete. He doesn't look like he can make it all that way, but he's doing it anyway. And that's the power of your actions as opposed to your words.
I think a lot more people will tell you can't do something than you can, right? Which is sad, right?
Yeah.
And I can only imagine what that would play out for when you see the problem, which we've just talked about, and then what's something that I can match that's as ridiculous as the numbers that I'm seeing there to hell, right? And, which is sort of what you were getting to, Dan, which is like, absolutely, I've got to plan this outrageous thing to get the attention to raise the cash. And like to run 21,000, just under 21,000 kilometers for 10 months, it is, I can't comprehend it. Like I can't sit here and comprehend that. And I don't think people can unless they really read the book. If whoever's listening, read the book, because you fully get an understanding of what Pat went through every day, and your experiences. And I was telling you before we got on that I loved how real it was. It wasn't buttered up. as a book. It was like, this is I've literally run 85 kilometers today, and now I have to pen down my thoughts of what's just happened, including getting stuck in the desert for the night, having to drink your own urine and being afraid you're going to die, right? Those moments where you're sitting in utter despair and going, I don't know what to do next, and all the time doing something for others is utterly inspirational, mate. It really is.
Yeah.
And you have to do it to address the problem that you're trying to fix, right, and trying to help and raise money for. It's just, I can't grasp the magnitude of what you've done, and you should be fucking proud of it, mate. Yeah.
Let me tell you something. I don't think it's in the book. But this prompted me because I was almost getting upset there because I had flashbacks to some of the moments. But I remember one moment, and I'll never forget this. And Jose, who was my cameraman,
Yep.
it was a beautiful, beautiful human being, and was a tough athlete in himself. And he was doing the best he possibly could. And I remember, we had a particularly difficult day, and we were sharing a tent, he and I, this night. And it was bitterly cold. It had been a blizzard all bloody day, And when I say blizzard, imagine the wind's blowing 100 kilometres an hour in your face, and you're trying to run against or move against it. You're just trying to move against it. And there's snow and ice along with that. And so the snow and ice is just like hail smashing your face all the time for the whole 10 hours or 12 hours of that day. And then you finally get to rest. And I get into my tent, and we get this little burner going. And we string a line through, and we get our snow and ice clothing off, and Jose puts his socks over the top of this line there, and that's probably why he's never spoken to me. But and I'll never forget, as hungry as I was, this dehydrated food that had got melted snow in there, and we're just waiting for the snow to melt and to warm up this dehydrated food of peas and mash or whatever it was. And all I could see was his socks getting warm and the droplets going into the same that we had to eat out of. And I'm thinking, oh my God, I'd rather
extra soul. I'd die. I'd rather die.
I think the quote in the book was more diplomatic. It was, I politely declined my dinner.
Jose was like,
I was close to death, but I was up for it after that.
It just, it just reinforces that everything about that run was extreme. It was commensurate levels of suffering to what you were trying to raise awareness and money for. And I think that's one of the things that's just so inspiring, is that you didn't just go out and pick a task that you knew you could achieve. You didn't go out and pick a task that was going to be in any way at any point on any day easily. The scale of the problem that you were trying to help was so massive that it's nearly incomprehensible, and that's matched by that run. People can't comprehend those numbers. You can't comprehend we've talked about it a lot, Cal and I, in that I've lost count of the amount of individual elements of your continuous run that are incomprehensible in their own right.
Yeah.
So not the whole thing. The North Pole itself, you can't wrap your head around 800 kilometers.
That's a story in and of itself.
There's near-death experiences. There's